The news hit Nigeria like a heavy weight dropped on the shoulders of a country already struggling to stand strong. It did not come softly. It came with impact, with noise, and with the kind of pressure that immediately grabbed national attention. People were talking, reacting, and trying to understand the message and the direction the country was heading in. Because Atiku Abubakar did not speak in a quiet tone. He spoke boldly, openly, and directly against President Bola Ahmed Tinubu over the conviction of Nnamdi Kanu. For many Nigerians, the timing was the biggest surprise. The country is passing through one of the most difficult moments in years. Families are unsure of their next meal. Young people are uncertain about their future. Businesses are shaking. Streets are tense. Fear sits in the minds of many, whether they are in the east, west, north, or south. Schools are struggling. Hospitals are stretched. Farmers cannot go to their farms safely. Roads are dangerous at night and sometimes even in the day. In the middle of all this, the decision to convict Nnamdi Kanu felt, to many, like another heavy blow on a nation already in pain. Atiku stepped forward and made it clear that he believed this judgment came at the wrong time. He pointed out that Nigeria is facing too many problems, and instead of reducing tension, this ruling could increase it. He said the judgment was harsh, too harsh for a country experiencing high insecurity, loss of lives, and fear in many communities. His words were not indirect or hidden. They were sharp, direct, and focused, meant to be heard by the government and the people at the same time. He said Nigeria does not need another spark right now. The wounds in the country have not healed. The country is not stable. A judgment like this, at this point, could trigger more problems, more reactions, and more division. Atiku's statement was not just political talk. It carried a warning, a reflection, and a sense of urgency. He was speaking to a government that is under pressure, and he was speaking to citizens who have been stretched to their emotional limit. He reminded the nation, through his tone and message, that leadership is not only about being in power. Leadership is about understanding the moment. It is about reading the situation of the people and acting in a way that protects national stability. Atiku's view was that this moment required calmness, dialogue, and wisdom, not a judgment that could easily be seen as pouring fuel on dry ground. As his words spread across the country, many Nigerians began to question the logic behind the timing. Why now? Why was this ruling delivered when security is weak and violence is taking more lives across different regions? Why push a legal decision that could generate strong reactions at a time when the nation needs unity, not tension? Atiku's message connected with the reality many citizens are facing daily. Nigerians are tired. They are exhausted from hardship, from insecurity, from silence, from pain that is not being addressed fast enough. The conviction of Nnamdi Kanu added another emotional and political weight. And Atiku was saying what many did not have the platform or power to say openly: Nigeria is vulnerable right now, and such decisions can easily open wider cracks in the national structure. He described the judgment as a heavy hand falling at a delicate time. As he spoke, people could hear the seriousness behind his words. It was not the speech of a politician looking for attention. It was the voice of someone who has seen power, who understands government, and who knows the danger of political decisions that come when emotions in the country are already high. Atiku did not defend violence, and he did not dismiss the importance of law. Instead, he questioned the wisdom of the moment. He asked whether the government understood how much anger and uncertainty already existed in the streets. He emphasized that the country needs solutions that calm the people, not decisions that make them feel attacked, defeated, or ignored. Nigeria is dealing with kidnappings, bandit attacks, separate agitation movements, hunger, currency crashes, unemployment, business closures, and loss of hope. Every day, families wake up wondering what new news they will hear. Every week, many Nigerians experience fear, loss, or financial pressure. And that is why the conviction of Nnamdi Kanu came with emotional shock. It was not just legal news. It was political, emotional, and national news. Atiku stood on that reality and said clearly that this ruling dropped at the worst possible time. the government should be focusing on healing the country, rebuilding trust, and opening genuine dialogue that brings people to the table. Instead, the ruling looked, to him, like a decision that could widen the distance between the people and the government. Chapter 1 ends here, with a country shaken, a political leader speaking loudly, a government under the spotlight, and millions of citizens watching, waiting, and hoping that the next steps do not push the country even deeper into pain. The shock was real, and the stakes are high. The story has only just begun. Atiku did not speak just to get attention. He spoke because the atmosphere in the country has become tense and uncertain. Many Nigerians are living through fear and frustration, and his message was aimed at explaining why the government should have moved with better timing, better judgment, and better emotional understanding of the people. Instead of calming the nation, the conviction of Nnamdi Kanu has stirred strong reactions, and Atiku wanted everyone to understand the danger of adding pressure to an already boiling situation. People in different parts of Nigeria are waking up every day to rising anxiety. Communities in the north are dealing with bandit attacks, kidnappings, and villages being overrun. In the south, people are dealing with economic hardship, police pressure, and fear of what tomorrow might look like. The east has long been tense because of political and ethnic disagreements, and now the conviction of a major figure like Kanu touches deep emotional nerves in that region. Atiku was speaking to this reality. He was saying something very simple but powerful: this decision is coming at a time when the nation does not have the emotional or social balance to absorb more shocks. He reminded leaders that citizens are not machines. They are human beings going through real stress, sorrow, inflation, insecurity, and disappointment. Many feel their voices are not being heard, and now this judgment risks making them feel even more disconnected from the system. Atiku was not defending wrongdoing. He was stressing the importance of timing and national sensitivity. Some decisions, even lawful ones, must be taken with wisdom, communication, and dialogue, because if not managed properly, they can trigger unrest that may take months or years to correct. Across social discussions, people began asking honest questions. Why does this judgment arrive at a time when the government has not solved kidnapping along highways? Why now, when inflation is making basic food items almost unreachable for average families? Why now, when unemployment is rising and young people are leaving the country in large numbers because they cannot see hope at home? These questions are not coming from elites but from ordinary Nigerians who are tired, worn out, and desperate for relief. Atiku understands that political leadership is not only about taking decisions. It is also about managing emotions, reading public signals, and understanding when the country's heartbeat is too fragile to withstand another strike. He pointed out, directly and indirectly, that a good government must ask itself one major question before every major action: will this unite or divide? Atiku's position seemed to be that this particular move might do more dividing than uniting. He also reminded the nation that harsh judgments rarely solve deep-rooted political problems. The case surrounding Kanu is not only legal. It is political, historical, emotional, and connected to decades of unaddressed grievances in the region. Decisions like this, if handled without meaningful dialogue, can trigger stronger feelings of exclusion among those who already feel disconnected from federal leadership. Atiku emphasized that this is not the time for a government to act like a hammer hitting a fragile surface. It is the time to gather and rebuild trust. In private discussions, many Nigerians have accepted that the country is in one of the most difficult moments in its democratic history. People have seen serious insecurity before, but what makes this period different is that multiple crises are happening at the same time. Security is weak, the economy is unstable, public morale is low, and social trust is fading. Atiku's message touched this truth. He could see that Nigeria is standing on a thin rope. One wrong decision can tilt things in a dangerous direction. He warned that if the government continues taking actions that feel insensitive to the suffering of the citizens, frustration could build to a breaking point. The public may begin to behave not based on logic but on emotion, pain, or fear. Once a country reaches that point, decisions become harder to control, and the cost of restoring order becomes much greater. Atiku was asking the government to prevent that rather than manage it after it has exploded. He also reminded people that leadership is not proven through force or punishment alone. Sometimes leadership is shown through listening, sitting down with those who disagree, and finding middle ground. He suggested that Nigeria needs more negotiation, more open ears, more national conversations, and less political judgment that seems to widen the gap between leadership and the governed. He pointed out that even those who may not support Nnamdi Kanu personally can still see the danger of this judgment coming at a time when nerves are stretched thin. The issue is bigger than one man. It affects national mood, national unity, and national psychology. Atiku was saying that a wise government, at a moment like this, would step back and ask itself if this was the right move in a season where stability is scarce. His message also called on everyday Nigerians to think beyond emotion and understand that this is a sensitive period in which every decision has consequences. He wanted people to see the seriousness of the moment and why national leadership must weigh every action with peace and social balance in mind. As his words circulated, more people began to understand that Atiku was not simply criticizing for political benefit. He was sounding a warning based on experience, observation, and deep awareness of the country's condition. His message was, Nigeria is weak right now, and this judgment could weaken it further if not handled with care. The country needs peace, conversation, and solutions, not actions that make already hurting citizens feel more targeted. Atiku ended his message with a warning that carried weight, maturity, and deep political understanding. He was not speaking like someone on the sidelines. He was speaking like a man who has watched Nigeria move through difficult seasons and knows how quickly things can fall apart when the emotional temperature of a nation is not handled with care. He warned that Nigeria is facing too many challenges at once, and if the government does not act wisely, the country could slip into a deeper crisis that will be much harder to recover from. He pointed out that insecurity is touching every corner of the country. Communities in the north are grieving lives lost to bandit attacks and kidnappers. Many families have seen loved ones taken in the night, never to return. In the Middle Belt, villages have become targets of violence, with people living in constant fear. In the south, businesses are collapsing, young people are losing hope, and frustration is rising. The east is emotionally charged and tense, and now the conviction of Nnamdi Kanu has added another strong emotional layer to an already sensitive atmosphere. Atiku warned that the government must recognize this reality. When a nation is fragile, leadership must be careful, patient, and strategic. He said no leader should take actions that deepen emotional wounds when people are already struggling to stand. Instead, decisions should help reduce tension, rebuild trust, and bring different groups closer to the center of national unity. When citizens lose trust, they begin to feel like they are on their own. Once that happens, even small government actions can trigger large reactions. He stressed that this is not a moment for harsh policies. It is a moment for wise policies. It is a moment to listen, to negotiate, and to understand the people. Atiku reminded everyone that punishment does not always solve political problems. Sometimes it widens the distance between the government and the population. The conviction of Nnamdi Kanu, in his view, risks doing exactly that if the government does not manage it with caution and communication. He argued that Nigeria cannot afford any decision that leads to more unrest. Lives are already being lost. Families are already crying. Communities are already exhausted. Students, farmers, traders, and workers are already weighed down by insecurity and economic struggles. This judgment could easily become another trigger that pushes frustrated citizens into a more emotional response. Atiku warned that the government must always think ahead. Leaders must think not only about whether something is lawful, but whether it is constructive for the emotional stability of the country. A decision can be legal and still be harmful to peace if it is taken at the wrong time or without proper communication. Leaders must read the room, read the people, and understand the emotional temperature of the nation before acting. He also added that the world is watching. Nigeria is under global observation. Every important move is being followed by international media, investors, and foreign governments. A country dealing with economic instability does not need additional political tension that scares away investment, tourism, and diplomatic confidence. The government must show that it can manage national disagreements with maturity, fairness, and long-term vision. Atiku explained that unity is not just a word. It requires active effort. It requires leadership to demonstrate empathy, not authority alone. Nigerians must feel that their government is interested in healing the country, not just exercising power. When the people believe their leaders are listening, national peace becomes easier to achieve. When they feel ignored, resentment grows. He also spoke about national memory. He reminded the government that history keeps records. One day, future generations will look back and ask whether decisions taken now helped Nigeria move forward or pushed it backward. He said Nigeria is at a crossroads, and leaders must make choices that bring the country together rather than break it further apart. Atiku ended by urging the government to rethink its approach. He said Nigeria needs leadership that calms the public, stabilizes the nation, and opens doors for dialogue. Condemnation, punishment, and judgment cannot be the first solution in a time like this. The country needs thoughtful steps that encourage conversation and rebuild confidence between the people and the system. His closing message was simple but powerful: Nigeria is wounded. Pressure must be reduced, not increased. Lives are already being lost. The country does not need another decision that could lead to more suffering. The government should focus on peace, dialogue, national stability, and long-term unity. If leaders ignore this moment and continue making decisions that deepen frustration, the consequences could be heavy and difficult to control. With that, Atiku's warning stood strong, a call to lead with wisdom, not force, with healing, not pressure, and with understanding, not political speed.